This is the time when I have previously, and I will again, reflect on the session of evidence that has just finished and look forward to what comes next. So first, reflection. And you may think it follows on perhaps a little from what's just been said. Last November, at the close of the first set of hearings during which individuals had been infected and affected told their stories, I drew together some of the themes that had been explored. And in particular, I said this, and I make no apology for restating it now. Quote, "A repeated theme has been the often unanswered call for help and psychological support for those suddenly facing what has seemed an unfair death sentence, with all its side effects on partners, friends and family, or the grueling courses of treatment they have undergone with their own side effects. It is appropriate, therefore, that when we begin our next set of hearings, remember I was talking then last November, so that's these hearings we've now just finished. We shall hear in particular from experts on social and psychosocial and psychological impact, as well as from experts on hepatitis, HIV, blood and bleeding disorders. This evidence will help place what we have already heard in a wider context and prepare for the hearings with decision makers which will follow. There can be no doubt, let me repeat that, no doubt, that what we have heard this week has underlined that message, written it in bold, set it out again in starkest clarity. It's done more than that. It added the voices of those who spoke via the intermediaries that we heard on Monday, and putting those voices together with the near 200 who spoke last year directly to those who are here or watching online, more than 250 testimonies have emphasized the need for the message about psychological support to be heard. And I can tell you that I have now read over 4 times that number of written statements, which have in their own individual ways added to the force of what has been said orally. But what makes me raise this again, in such strong terms as I do now, is that we have now heard that scientific expertise of the highest standing fully supports that view. We shall all take our own messages from this week of evidence. But what I personally would like to highlight is this. It must be the case that anyone who's given a life-threatening diagnosis may need support and should be offered it. And so too, their families may need support. Yet the very fact that a number of people with chronic hepatitis B or chronic hepatitis C or HIV infection chose to describe their resulting life-threatening illness and need for treatment to those around them as being cancer rather than hepatitis or HIV shows that the isolation in which they had to bear their illness added a dimension beyond even cancer. Add to that the fact that so many clinicians advised them to tell no one. In effect, medical advice to live a lie, or if that's too strong, at least to limit the social network that might otherwise be there to support those who are suffering. This shows that the stigma of having one or more of these blood-borne infections was not just something the sufferers alone recognized, their doctors did too. Add the sad fact that the evidence suggests that there still remain pockets of ignorance and prejudice amongst, of all people, NHS staff. Add to that the worry. Can I pass it on? Am I infecting those dear to me? Have I already done so? Dare I risk becoming a parent? And then add the effects, the direct effects of the viruses on mind and personality, and the effects of treatment, and if on personality, on relationships. All these factors make it clear that there was a need for there to have been effective, knowledgeable, expert psychological support services on offer. The evidence thus far has underlined that those who received infected blood and their families have suffered in all the ways I've highlighted, and many, probably most, have suffered all the more because they had no such support. Now, I'm delighted to acknowledge the very significant advances that there have been in the treatments for hepatitis, particularly hepatitis C, and HIV infection, and we heard today in thalassemia and sickle cell, and it's anticipated that genetic advances may help further. But what we have also heard this week, however, has told us that though hepatitis C itself can be cured, chronic hepatitis C cannot yet be, nor can HIV. Anyone with either of those conditions must go on taking tablets for the rest of their lives. They may fear what the future brings. Their trust in doctors may be shaky because of the source of their infections. And we have heard that the effects of past infection and past treatment don't simply disappear. A damaged liver does not cease being damaged overnight because the virus that caused it is cleared. Personality and mental function may be permanently affected. And we have heard that people are still scared of the way others will react to knowing that they have the disease. Hence, the large take-up of the services of the intermediaries from whom we heard. And some find it difficult to access the medical services they may need for other conditions because they have experienced stigma amongst NHS staff in the past. Now, every day this week, as I've heard it, we have heard the same message that support is needed. Not just from those to whom the intermediaries gave voice, we haven't heard it just from the psychosocial experts, but we've heard it also from leading experts in hepatitis and leading experts in HIV, and today we've heard that psychological support remains at best patchy in some parts of the country. So it's for those reasons that I would like to draw the attention publicly now of NHS England and hospital trusts and boards throughout the country to the fact that the need for specialist treatment by professionals who have a special understanding of infected blood and blood products has not gone away now that there is greater success in treatment of the underlying conditions, that there is a need to ensure that the standards of follow-up of those who have cleared hepatitis C but have been left with a compromised liver are maintained in accordance with those our experts have set out this week. That the support not only of those infected but their families need special attention, and that those who have lost a partner, son, daughter, brother, sister, mother, father, grandparent, or close friend must not be ignored. I should add that I mentioned NHS England not because I'm being parochial, but because, as you've just heard, both Northern Ireland and Wales have told us that they've started to answer this call by providing services bespoke to those who've been infected by blood and blood products. If they have opened the door to treatment and support, I would hope, indeed expect, to see England and Scotland fully follow suit. Though I've had no detailed dissection of any figures as yet, the evidence thus far suggests that the outlay of public funds would not be great, but also that expenditure on support and screening will save money in the long run because it will help improve and maintain health. The evidence this week from undoubted experts of the highest caliber has demonstrated that the health of the mind affects the health of the body, and the health of the body affects the health of the mind. I hope to be able to acknowledge in the final report that proper support and follow-up will by then be in place across the UK. So much for reflection. Looking forward, what comes next? In June and July this year, we shall start hearing about the knowledge of risk, with particular reference to the haemophilia centres and the clinicians who practiced in those centres. Precise details will follow in due course. This is exactly as I'd anticipated at the start or the end, I should say, of our hearings last October, as I've just read out to you at the start of my reflection. We are on course, as we had planned to be, and I hope you've seen from this week that it fits together to give us a proper basis for approaching what we need to do in June and July, starting then. For those of you who wish to come back and hear that, I look forward to seeing you again. Otherwise, can I just say that I wish you a very safe journey home. Thank you.